My little sister fell for some punk with green hair and rode off with him to a hotel. When I found out, I told Mom. But my sister is talented and pretty, Mom's perfect masterpiece. So when my sister's scandalous video went viral, Mom didn't hesitate to blame me. It was my eldest daughter with that punk. My youngest is the good one. You've got the wrong person. I was furious when Dad kicked me out of the house. My sister got people to bully and humiliate me, filming it and posting it online. When she found me later, I was almost done for. She laughed triumphantly. This is your punishment for ruining my love life. Covered in dirt, I died alone in a rented room. When I opened my eyes again, I was back at the moment I discovered my sister and the punk were sneaking around. This time I chose to cover for them. I wanted to see just how wild my sister could get without getting caught. If you tell Mom, you're dead. Got it? My sister blew a smoke ring right in my face. I coughed from the smoke, tears welling in my eyes, and instinctively wiped them away. That's when I noticed no scars on my arms. What the heck? Wasn't I already dead? Where are my injuries? Lily, don't pretend to be dumb. Stunned, I felt my hair being pulled by my sister, the pain reminding me. This is not a dream. Fine, I swear, I won't tell Mom. The green-haired punk grinned greasy at me. His eyes scanned me up and down before scratching his privates. Let's find some fun elsewhere. He grabbed my sister's hand, and they took off on the motorcycle, the roar trailing behind them. I squatted on the ground, looking at my smooth wrists, laughing and crying. I'm reborn, back to before any of this happened. That summer break, after night classes, I was cutting through a deserted alley as a shortcut home. Out of nowhere, I saw that punk Ken holding my sister. The two were all over each other without a care. Ken's infamous among us. A bad reputation. He's trouble, a player, loves to mess around. He's gotten different girls pregnant, and they've had abortions. A classmate, whose parents are doctors, told me Ken visited a men's clinic once. My sister saw me. She rushed over disheveled, blocking my path. I earnestly urged her to break up, but she didn't care. What do you know? We're adults now, what's wrong with dating? With him I feel alive. He takes me to try street food, skips class with me to find the meaning of youth, and shows me the freedom I crave. I was heartbroken then. Even though my sister became a bit spoiled as she got older, she was still the sweet kid I remembered, who'd taught her over to kiss me. I couldn't just watch her go off the deep end. I hesitated a lot before telling Mom everything. I asked what I could do to pull my sister back from her wrong path. Mom hugged me gently, saying it's okay, then casually added, "Guys, when they find someone new, they forget the old." A light bulb went off in my head. Ken was a womanizer. If baited right, he'd easily take the hook. I pooled all my allowance and hired a professional actress to lure Ken. To chase after the new girl, Ken broke up with my sister without hesitation. My sister was heartbroken for a bit. She picked up her studies again. I thought everything was good. Then one day after school, I saw Ken dragging my dazed sister into a hotel. I didn't think twice, ran in, knocked Ken out with a vase, and took my sister. The next day, a video of my sister and Ken surfaced on the school forum. She instantly became the target of the whole school. I quickly asked the forum admin to take it down. I checked everywhere to find the poster, only to find it was my sister. When I went to confront her, she looked at me with an eerie smile. "Sis, anyone who tries to take Ken from me will pay." Then she cried into Mom's arms when she heard the news. She sobbed, saying if the video spreads, she'd rather not go to school or live. Then she glanced at me. "Unless, Mom, sister looks like me, only she can save me." A chill ran through me. I looked at Mom. She was staring at me, ice cold, with no hint of emotion. Without hesitation, she knocked me out. I never knew my seemingly gentle mom had such ruthless determination. She got the hotel footage of me that day, recording a video herself. It was my eldest daughter with that punk. My youngest is the good one. You've got the wrong person. The incident had massive repercussions. It even affected the family business. My dad, who's hardly ever home, came back furious. Initially planning to punish me, he ended up throwing me out after Mom and my sister egged him on. With my protection gone, my sister spearheaded bullying me in school. She sent people to strip and humiliate me, captured it on video, and spread it on the dark web. It soon went viral everywhere. Dad issued an official announcement, cutting ties with me completely. My sister found the dying me and smiled with glee. I had 1,000 ways to handle you, but I figured, hitting your heart's the way to go. Now even living you're in hell. This is your punishment for losing me love and freedom. Eventually I died, all alone in a leaky, rundown place. Every tragedy I faced stemmed from my meddling. This life, I'd let go of helping others, respect my sister's choices. I wanted to see just how far she and that punk would go without getting caught. As soon as I got home, Mom emerged from the bedroom, unable to help but ask, "Lily, where's your sister?" "At the library." She frowned but finally said softly, "Lily, you're the big sister, and it's your duty to look after your sister. She's still young, watch over her more." I scratched my ear and lay down on the sofa. "Mom, we're only a year apart. I'm just her sister, not her mom." Mom didn't expect that from me, I guess. Her eyes quickly filled with tears, and she came over to take my hand. "Lily, that's not what I meant. It's just that both your sister and I aren't as strong as you." I raised my hand to cut her off. I didn't want to hear it. If I did, I'd just find it disgusting. After I died, I finally understood why Mom always used me as a tool. Because my sister was a genius with extraordinary beauty. She could be Mom's trophy in social circles, her masterpiece, and a way to win Dad's favor. And me? I was just average at best. But I had resilience, maturity, and most importantly, a loving heart. Under Mom's guidance, I loved her and my sister with all my heart. Whenever there was danger, I was the best weapon in their hands. Mom probably knew about my sister and Ken before I did. Even today, catching my sister in that ridiculous act was likely staged by Mom. Otherwise, why did I suddenly have an evening tutoring session? Mom wanted me to break them apart. She wanted my sister to become that perfect creation again. And she would still be the flawless mother in her eyes. She was the hero. I was the villain. "Lily, did you see your sister when you went out today?" "Mom, I saw Dad with his secretary at the mall, and I think she looked pregnant. Am I getting a little brother?" "No way, Lily. Your dad is a respectable man." "Really? Maybe I saw it wrong." I chuckled. Mom's face turned dark, and she nervously picked at her fingers, then turned and went upstairs. Soon I heard the unmistakable sound of things being thrown around. Meanwhile, I happily pulled out a sheet of paper, piecing together the clues in my mind. Mom spent years nurturing my sister to prove to Dad that her daughter was no less than a son. If she hadn't been physically affected after giving birth to my sister, even if my sister was blessed by the gods, she'd definitely have had a son. But Dad seemed vague about it all. He praised my sister, but still hoped for a son outside of us. Sadly, after all these years, nothing's come of it. If my sister's image was tarnished, and Mom had a son, would they turn against each other? I happily bit the soft flesh of my arm, restraining the urge to destroy everyone. I stood by the door, waiting for my sister to come home. I kindly used deodorizer to rid her of the booze and smoke smell, picked up her clothes and backpack, and slipped my notes for her inside. "Be a good sister, do the full act. Lily, don't play games with me, or you'll regret it." "No way, I'm just supporting your love, sis." She looked at me a few times, then shrugged and went in with her backpack. Mom kept winking at me, but I ignored her. Eventually, she sniffed my sister's hair herself, checked her backpack, then hugged my sister with a smile. "My dear, I'll have the maid serve dinner." They were laughing and enjoying dinner, the ideal mother-daughter duo. But my sister was slyly dumping Mom's food into the trash. I watched from upstairs and couldn't help but smile. Why didn't I realize how entertaining this family is before? Once my sister figured out I'd cover for her, she got bolder, not just skipping tutoring, but also school, and even dumping her homework on me. I laughed it off and hired Jason, the class genius, to do it. He's smart but broke. It's doing a good deed, right? Soon midterms came around. I burned the midnight oil for a week. These results would be my ticket to my future plans. After my sister finished getting ready, she saw my light still on and laughed. "There's a wall between geniuses and regular people. Stop wasting your time." I just smiled and opened my window. "Sis, isn't he waiting for you?" She glared, then hesitated while eyeing my books, but eventually climbed out when her phone buzzed insistently. The next morning, she clambered back through the window with heavy bags under her eyes and reeking of booze, waking me up so I could clean up her mess. But at breakfast she suddenly complained, "Mom, my stomach hurts bad. Can sis stay and take care of me today?" "Alright, I'll call your teacher. You stay home with your sister." My sister smugly whispered in my ear, "All your hard work for nothing. A word from me and you missed the test." I smiled, looked at Mom. "Mom, today's midterms. I heard Mike's daughter wants first place again. Prepare a gift maybe." Mom quickly put down the phone. "Got painkillers for my sister. Sweetie, hang on. After the exams, I'll buy you that limited edition bag you want." My sister looked pale instantly, but Mom still put her backpack on her arm as if she hadn't noticed. The 2 days of exams flew by. While waiting for the results, my sister was so anxious she chewed her nails. Even hanging out with Ken and eating street food couldn't cheer her up. Seeing me with my books, she suddenly hugged me. "Big sis, you'll help me, right? I can't do badly." She leaned on my back like when we were little. She clung to my legs once, saying, "I love you, sis, you're the best." I just smiled softly, ice cold. "Sure, sis will give you everything you want." Hard work paid off, and I snagged first place in the city. My sister? She dropped from 1st to 20th. Seeing her grades, I was surprised. Half a semester without studying and still ranked 20th? Really, that's a genius. I switched the names on the report cards and faked a new one for my sister. Mom was thrilled, posting it on social media and using it to coax Dad, who's hardly home, to come back for a celebration. In the candlelight, she blushed like a young girl looking at Dad. But he was unfazed, kept a cold face, only occasionally replying with a grunt. After dinner, Dad saw me spacing out on the second floor and asked, "What's up?" I said, "Look over there. It's so heartwarming." A man downstairs was lovingly swaying his child in his arms, and the kid was laughing while hugging his face. Dad looked envious and said, "Lily, have you ever thought about having a little brother?" I nodded without hesitation. "I've dreamed about it. If I had a little brother, I'd spoil him rotten." Dad patted my head and asked, "Good girl. How's school going lately?" I twisted my fingers, looked down, and said nothing. After a bit of silence, Dad asked, "What's up? Is it bad?" "It doesn't matter. Girls just can't match boys academically. Your sister may be a genius, but it's not as effortless for her as it would be for a boy." That ignorant comment disgusted me for a second. I quickly adjusted and said, "No, Mom says sister is better than boys. She'll take over the company one day and outperform them. Besides, I'm first in the city this time. I'm not bad at school, Dad. You don't care about me at all." He seemed amused by my childish remark and laughed. "Then why did your mom say your sister was first in the city?" "That's our little secret, Dad. Just between us. If my sister does poorly, Mom gets upset because she's supposed to run the company. It doesn't matter if I mess up." I didn't finish the sentence, but I think Dad got it. Dad frowned and asked, "Your mom really thinks your sister's better than a boy for the company?" "Yeah, I think my sister's amazing too, but what?" Feigning innocence, I said, "I think girls can't really beat boys. If I had a brother, he'd definitely be better than my sister, just like you, Dad." Dad finally laughed, glancing at Mom and my sister, and then stroked my head. "Sweet girl. Want to play around Dad's company?" "Yay, but will you stay with me, Dad? I haven't seen you much lately." "Sure, I'll be with you." He smiled, pleased either by my affection or the submission and admiration for men I showed. My sister was indeed outstanding. She could be like a beautiful vase for Dad to display as a status symbol, receiving praise. Because of this, Dad could afford to spare her some affection. But he couldn't have the vase become someone who might replace him. If that ever happened, he would shatter it before it's armed. During a visit to Dad's company, I displayed a bit of wits and ambition, clinging to his hand. "Do you know why I aim to be first in the city, Dad?" "Why?" "To help you," I said. "You come home tired, and I want to ease that. Do you think you can handle it, Lily?" "No way. The final decisions will always be yours." I quickly shook my head. "I can only support you. I'm not as brilliant as you, Dad." He smiled, examining me, then sat down on the boss's chair. "But one day Dad will grow old. What then? My sister will take over. I'll take care of you. If I had a brother, he'd be great at it. Lily, I have a task for you. Whatever it is, I'll do my best for you, Dad. Start learning about the company now. Later, you can help your brother. Am I really getting a brother? I excitedly grabbed his shirt. You will, but he'll be younger, so you have to support him well. You know, having a man in the family is always your fallback. I nodded earnestly. I understand, Dad. I passed Dad's tests, earning a chance to intern at the company. The work and senior year stress felt overwhelming. Meanwhile, my sister and Mom seemed rattled by my company entry. I don't know their scheme, but Sis decided to clean up her act, cut ties with Ken, and got back to studying. When geniuses try hard, it's noticeable. By finals, she reclaimed the city's first place, and I landed second. Feeling smug, she bragged at school until a boy fed up with her attitude snapped. Don't just study. Ever heard of showers? The whole class reeks. Her face fell instantly. She stormed out, passing me with a whiff of fishy odor. Ken had issues, and those nights out didn't go unnoticed. She'd been long showering, using stronger bath gels, yet still couldn't mask the smell. All I could do was be thankful for having my own bathroom. At home, her face was back to normal, eagerly placing her report card before Dad. Dad, I'm first in the city again. I want to join the company. I'm way better than my sister. Even my teachers say I'm smarter than boys. Mom chimed in, yes, she's brilliant. Joining the company would benefit you, helping her adapt early. Adapt to what? I'm not dead yet. Dad suddenly snapped, kicking the table over, glaring at my sister. Is the air a liar, reeking of filth? You know who was first last time. Then he glared at Mom. And you always bragging about how well you raised this daughter. Turns out she can't even manage basic hygiene. The more he talked, the angrier he got. Suddenly, Dad grabbed Mom's neck. You're not fit to be the lady of the house. No wonder you can't tell fake pearls from the real ones. After saying this, he got up and stormed out, without looking back. Lily, take care of this mess. I respectfully replied, okay, Dad. The maid came to clean up the floor. Mom sat trembling in the mess, casting a resentful look at me before turning to my sister. Why embarrass me like this? Why are you so disgusting? Thick liquid dripped from her as she stepped toward my sister, furiously pulling her hair. As I sat watching, she came at me too, aiming to slap me. You're the big sister. Why didn't you watch over her? It's your fault. But I blocked her easily. Mom, if you don't calm down, Dad will really divorce you. Her face split in two, half angry, half scared. Emotions tore at her, making her even more volatile. She yanked my sister's hair and slapped her a few times. After letting out her emotions, she kicked my sister aside. What should I do? What can I do? I casually suggested have a son. Are you crazy? Mom and sister's voices rang out together. My sister, dazed from the hits, was jolted back to reality by my words. She shakily moved to Mom's side, taking her hand. Mom, I'm sorry. I'll listen better from now on, really. She's lying to you. Besides, you can't even. Shut up. With all her might, Mom slapped my sister, who started bleeding from her nose. I looked away, expressionless, and asked the maid to take her to the hospital. Once everyone was gone, Mom let out a long breath, then suspiciously asked me, do you have a way for me to get pregnant again? Mom, don't pretend you don't know, I said with a chuckle. The one who can't have children was always Dad. He never found out. Mom had been secretly adding something to his supplements. So, he could only ever have me and my sister. I raised an eyebrow. Mom, there needs to be a man in the family. No woman outside will ever compare to when you birth yourself. Lily, who are you really? How do you know? Fear finally dawned on Mom, her eyes turning from frantic to terrified. I peeled an orange as I recalled. I remembered regretting it right after slitting my wrists. I had grievances unvoiced, revenge untaken. How could I die so weakly? Just then Mom walked in. I cried for help. Mom, I regret it. I don't want to die. Save me. She just watched me. Lily, alive, you'd trouble both your dad and sister. She brought a basin of warm water, gently placed my hands in. Sleep, my dear, sleep. She sang the lullaby reserved for my sister. After a while, the smell of blood must have bothered her. She peeled oranges for their scent. I drifted off into darkness with the citrus aroma. Thankfully, my world got another chance to light up. Forcing myself back from the memories, I looked at Mom. Mom, the opportunity is in your hands. If you're ready, call me. I'll help. Leaving the room, I realized the orange had been crushed in my hand. I took my sister to the hospital. A perfect work can't have flaws. She's expendable now, though she doesn't know it yet. In the hospital, she glared at me but quickly summoned tears when I looked her way. So like Mom. She clutched my hand, sobbing. Sis, I think I'm sick. Help me, please? I comforted her softly. All right, don't cry. Didn't I say? I'll give you whatever you want? I used Dad's connections to get her the best treatment. Slowly she got better. Dad, upon knowing, looked at me with pride. My Lily's always so kind. You'll probably be even better to your future brother. Counting down the days in my mind, I knew it would all end soon. My sister's condition stabilized. It seemed like she became a child again, holding my hand, asking for stories, sharing her candy. At night, she snuggled beside me as I stroked her hair. Sis, if we'd been born in another family, we'd surely be the best sisters. Want to study abroad? I can set up a fund for you. It'll cover your whole life, and nobody will bother you. After a long pause, she whispered, I want to go back to school tomorrow. Okay, whatever you want. I held her close, messaging Mom back. I'll arrange your chance. After waking up, I saw hundreds of messages from Mom. Her voice shook. Lily, I'm pregnant. But I don't know if it's a boy or a girl. If your dad finds out I'm dead. I ignored my phone, first taking my sister back to school, settling her in. Still, the whispers followed her, with no one willing to sit by her. Frowning, I moved my desk next to hers. It's okay. I'll stay with you. Influenced by me, others brought their desks back. Yet, she looked at me with that hateful gaze again, face forced into a smile. At the office, I explained my recent studies to Dad, lingering a bit longer around him. What's up? Something on Lily's mind? Dad, Mom's been really nice to me lately. Aren't you happy she's good to you? I'm happy, but I want Mom to be happy too. So could you go see her? Just a quick visit, please, Dad. I blurted it all out in one breath, and he just sat there laughing. It's rare for Lily to ask me for something, so I'll pay her a visit. Great. The scent of scented candles filled the air. I found an excuse to give them some alone time. During the break, I got a message from her. It worked. After my sister returned to school, she had to endure hateful stares every day. At home, Mom was constantly going to the hospital, acting like she didn't exist. She held on to her anger, hoping to get better grades and regain Mom and her classmates' attention. So even a genius who always believed in talent started to study hard. Like the idiots she used to look down on. She was under so much pressure. Clumps of her hair were falling out, and her once beautiful face showed signs of exhaustion. Then another exam came around, and she meticulously checked her supplies many times before confidently entering the exam hall. While waiting for her results, she scratched her arm until it bled. When the class president posted the results on the board, she was the first to rush up and check her scores. She set a record with her results, but her classmates still looked at her weirdly, with even more disdain this time. Why are you looking at me like that? I'm a genius. Did any of you surpass me? Yeah, you're a genius. Talented in studies, and also in bed. So many tricks we can't even imagine. Laughter erupted around her. She shakily took out her phone to check. There was a video of her and Ken on the school forum with viral written all over it. Sis, you can't do this to me. You promised to be good to me forever. She suddenly broke down and screamed at me. But wasn't this what she wanted? I smoothed her messy hair and adjusted her clothes, just like I did for her and Ken before. You knew I was going to post that video, didn't you? Sis, I told you. Whatever you want, your sister will help you. So I helped you post the original video. The video was yours. Changing faces would be disrespectful to you. No. I'll go find Mom. Mom can help me. She stumbled towards home, and I followed, watching her crash into Mom holding her pregnancy checkup papers. You're pregnant. Then what about me? Will you abandon me too? Will you? It'd be better if there was no baby. Yeah, if there was no baby. Then she suddenly lunged at Mom's belly. Mom screamed and instinctively pushed her, sending her down the stairs. She fell to the ground, her face bloody. It's not like that. If I had good grades, Mom wouldn't treat me this way. The ambulance rushed over, but she was barely breathing, whispering. Yet Mom was only worriedly asking the doctor, "Doctor, she just pushed my son. Is he okay? Am I okay?" The doctor lost patience and shouted, "Are you okay? Don't you see she's dying?" Finally, she became a lifeless body. I still fixed on Mom. But Mom didn't care, clinging to me, babbling. "I didn't push her. She lost her balance, you saw it. Whether it's a rough vase or a delicate vase, when it breaks, people only care if the shards will cut them." I softly reassured her. "She lost her balance, Mom. Her death was ruled an accident." Soon she was buried, but not a single parent showed up, only me. They went to a private hospital, because it was finally time to check the baby's gender. I heard they cried tears of joy at the hospital entrance. They felt two great things happened in one day. 1. Their disgraced daughter was finally gone for good. 2. The long-awaited son was finally arriving. He was overjoyed. "Lily, you have a brother now. The family line continues. You must work harder to help him in the future." "Really, Dad? That's awesome. I'll definitely do that." I put on an innocent smile and promised sincerely. With this son, my parents went from a midlife crisis to being lovebirds again. All the other distractions were driven away. He commuted between work and home, finishing up work just to cook for Mom. Then Mom would smile happily while holding her face. But the company had lots of work, and he couldn't trust others, so he gave me some authority to watch over things. Sigh. Even though I started school late, I'm not even 20 yet. I still have growing to do. The mountain of paperwork wore me out. But I still made time to visit school after getting a message from Ken. "Your sister was something. Guess the big sis isn't bad either." "Very good. Just like he wanted." I personally took him to a bar. After a few drinks, he was drunk as a skunk, but still wanted to fool around. I smiled and said, "Nowhere's more exciting than the school garden." He chuckled sleazily, pants sagging as he stumbled into the garden. He accidentally knocked over an old railing and fell right into the pond. Soon he was a bloated corpse. Ever since a ghost story spread at school, they said if any guy can't control his urges and harasses girls, he'll be haunted by a water ghost. I brought that story home to tell Mom, casually adding, "Mom, do you know people with blood on their hands will have their offspring pay for it?" Seeing her nervously biting her nails, I turned and headed to the company. I already got a good grasp of the company's status, but I need real control. If I could get my parents' shares, everything would fall into place. Mom built a shrine at home, filling it with smoke every day. Dad didn't ask questions, just stayed with Mom all day, praying for my unborn brother. But soon, they noticed that my sister started showing up at home a lot. She kept asking my mom, "Mom, didn't you say I was your favorite child? Why are you treating me like this?" My mom was shocked. Only when my dad was around could she find some peace. With the adults' poor health, even the kids weren't growing well. Worried that the son they'd been hoping for might have an accident, my dad dropped all his work at the company to focus on being with my mom. But lots of decisions still needed the chairman's approval, and he was so busy he was about to collapse. Before the annual shareholders meeting, my dad suddenly called me into a room. "Lily, your mom and I are thinking of having you hold on to the shares for us." "Dad, these belong to my brother. How can I, just a girl, handle this?" I almost cried out in panic. My dad surprisingly relaxed. "Don't worry, Lily, I'll have the secretary help you. You're just holding the shares temporarily. Once your brother is of age, they'll be his." "I understood then, Dad. I won't let you down." My dad signed a trust agreement for the shares. I now wielded real power in the company. Many things I couldn't do before I could do now. I just needed to make these things truly mine. Days went by. I still took the college entrance exam, but spent most of my time at the company. Despite my young age, I completely took control of it. Mom's belly kept growing, and soon she was at her due date. Over the past 6 months, she'd been worn out by my sister's apparitions, but still felt happiness whenever she touched her belly. In the delivery room, Mom had a difficult labor, yet she still felt joy, giving it her all to bring the baby into the world. "Lily, as long as I have this child, your dad and I can always be happy," she said. I grabbed her hand, whispered in her ear, "Mom, this baby's a girl. I had the doctor lie to you during the checkup. And just now Dad found out, and went to reunite with his mistress." Stunned, fear spread across her face, and she started shouting, "Ah! Lily, you're lying, right? Nurse! Get my husband in here, hurry!" I watched her silently as panic set in. Nurses were too scared to defy a VIP patient. They rushed out, but came back to find no one outside the door. "Ma'am, your husband's not outside." Mom let out a gasp. Blood gushed from her, and she soon began losing consciousness, but her eyes stayed fixed on the room's entrance. The doctors and nurses were in chaos. The machine beeped, then became a flat line. A doctor took off his coat and turned to my dad, who'd rushed back with flowers, saying, "Sir, I'm sorry, but we couldn't save your wife and child." My dad looked stunned, then suddenly asked, "Was it a boy or a girl?" "A boy, fully developed." He dropped the flowers and paced the hallway. Why did it end like this? All those years waiting for a son, gone for a fleeting romantic gesture. Feigned concern on my face, I said, "Dad, don't blame yourself. It's all your fault. If you hadn't suggested your mom would like flowers, would I have gone to buy them?" He pushed my hand away, swung to hit me but collapsed before he could. I stood still, looking down on him with disdain. The doctor wheeled him into the ER. Probably a stroke. "Prepare yourself," he warned. Burying my face in my arms, I bit down hard on my arm. Finally, the day had come. I was terrified I'd break into laughter. Soon, a doctor hurriedly brought me good news. "Your dad had a stroke. He's lost the ability to speak, and will likely be paralyzed." When night fell, I went home changed and walked into Dad's hospital room with flowers. "Angry, Dad? Let me share a secret. That baby wasn't even yours. Does that make you feel any better?" He struggled and groaned on the bed. "What? You don't believe me?" I pulled out my phone, showing him a video of my mom with another man. I watched him twist and turn, feeling content. I straightened his head. "So happy, Dad? Here's some news as a buy one get two extra. Know why you don't have a son? Mom drugged you. Your health supplements made having a son out of the question. Shame you weren't lazier, could have had a boy." Tears of fury filled his eyes, but he lay helpless and motionless. "Such a temper, but you're stuck now, forever lying there," I scoffed. "Oh, and about that news, the shares are mine now. I'm the rightful CEO. There's no brother to inherit. The empire you built? It's mine now, this so-called money-losing daughter." His mouth bled as my satisfaction grew. I left the room. Hopefully, the hospital had more good news for me. I wanted another funeral. The hospital called next day. Time to collect a body. The doctor seemed like a lively magpie to me. I signed the papers with no expression, pondering investing in this hospital and giving that doctor a raise. They were my good luck charm. I poured their ashes down the sewer. That's where dirty things belonged. As I visited my sister's grave to share the news, I hoped we'd never meet in another life. I buried the education fund card in the ground with her. "We're even now, sis. Boss, take a look at the new charity project." I nodded. "I can cover the school and living expenses for these poor kids, as long as they're willing to strive." "All right." As I walked down the cemetery, I saw a family of 3. Unlike the actors I hired, they had a natural happiness to them. If we had parents like that, if my sister could just stop, if she could come to her senses, if I could be softer, would things be different? But in reality, there's no if. I'm just someone who's scared to eat oranges again, and can't help biting myself secretly. A gentle breeze blew down from the mountains as I signed my name in the corner of the charity fund documents. We all need a new life. Tomorrow, it's time to see the therapist again. If she's right, by this time next year, I'll probably be healed. My sunshine will visit me again. The end.